And then I'm going. So, welcome to a New Year's episode, even though we're in February, of Your Story with Lori. And I'm here with Jamie, and Jamie has agreed to share his chart. So, I'm going to share it on the screen in just a minute. Here we go. We're going to do that. Okay. Make it bigger. Okay. I'm going to look at your chart. Here we go. Okay. So, Jamie, tell me a little bit about yourself because I virtually know nothing. This is going to be
Let's see here. I live in Richmond, Virginia at the moment.
okay.
I moved here in 1999 to go to graduate school at Virginia Commonwealth University's School of Advertising. Turns
Okay.
out VC's the best advertising school in the country, so that's kind of what got me to Virginia. But since then, I graduated at an unfortunate time. I graduated a couple of months before 9/11. Um,
Oh,
so I was never able to actually get a job in my field. So I changed what I do. I met a girl, uh, had a couple kids, bought a house, got a divorce, and it's still live in Richmond.
okay. And where were and so you were born in, you said it was
I'm from
Indiana.
northern Indiana. Indiana, yeah.
Okay. The Midwest. Okay. Now
Midwest, yes.
tell me a little bit about what you do for a living currently.
I'm a hairstylist.
Okay. Well, here's
Now
the
it's kind of
interest.
funny. In graduate, okay, I was going to say in graduate school I was a designer, so it really applies to what I'm doing now, even though I was trained in a different form of design.
Right. Well, artists are artists, no matter where you are.
Agreed.
Well, you have, okay, so what I'm looking at currently is a lot of your chart is maintained in the sociological quarter quadrant. So
Hmm.
so if you don't know much about astrology, the first house is your rising. So I'm going to use my little arrow. This is your rising sign right here, and that's in Leo, right? So what over here you've got in your first quadrant is the individual quadrant. So psychological, first house, second house, third house, you've got Moon, Pluto, and Uranus. And then you move over here to the second quadrant, which is sociological interaction with others, peers, um, health, well-being, work. You've got a lot of stuff over here in your fifth house and
Hmm.
your sixth house, right?
It's
And so
busy
you
over here.
have very busy. You've got a very big like weight in that area. So that's where I would say most of your purpose is placed on the
Yeah.
bottom half of your chart. And yet here's the strain. This is the fun part. You've got Saturn up here in Gemini,
Hmm.
and it pulls the weight of all this. So Saturn is the way we see our world, the way we view our structure, how we perceive things. And Gemini is a mutable sign and it's an air sign. And it's also a locality sign. It usually rules the third house, which is down here where you've got Libra,
Hmm.
which is another air sign. So you're probably, many times it has a lot to do with your connection, your connectivity. But having Saturn here in Gemini, and actually almost, gosh, direct across from Mars in Sagittarius. I think you like to be active, but on your terms.
Absolutely.
And your physical health is important to you, but you like to do stuff that keeps you moving.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then over here, you got your sun in Aquarius. So Aquarius is ruled by the 11th house over here, typically. Your 11th house is Gemini. You've got Saturn there. So Saturn over here, kind of like pulling the weight over here. It's like you can go many different directions, but you're going to do well in like maybe your locality. Like wherever you are, you're going to do well. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
Yeah, it
Communication
does.
wise, like business wise, because you've got the sun in the sixth house, which is the house of health, humanity, creativity, not creativity. I would say like wellness, work. It's the last house in the bottom of the chart, which is the like the individual. And when we go into the seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th, that's like the collective. And the seventh house
Mhm.
rules relationships. And it's Aquarius, which is what we currently are in. Happy belated
Hmm.
birthday.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And then we've got the Pisces up here. So having empty houses is not a problem. It just means there's not a lot of work that has to be done in those houses, but there might be transits that are affected in those houses when you've got personal planets, which would be your Mars, your Mercury, and your Venus, the houses that are closest to us. The universal collective planets are Jupiter, Uranus, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto. And then what's
Mm.
really important in our charts, even though I'm sure what you've heard people talk about your rising sign in the past.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Okay,
I've
so
heard of it. Yeah.
you've got the rising Leo at, let me see, I think your degree is 7 degrees. Okay. So you're very generous with your time and your resources and your
Oh,
creativity.
I have virtually no sense of ownership.
There you go. That's your first house. That's what you do is you're delivering like your gifts, your talents in the most
Yeah.
creative, um, exuberant way because it's Leo.
Hmm.
Leo rules the fifth house of creativity, love, speculation, children, animals.
Hmm.
So whatever you're doing in your day to day, you're most likely enjoying your time, or
Okay.
you
Yeah.
try to strive to enjoy it as much as you can. And then over here, the midheaven, it's up here, this Aries area. So your career is like so like I said before with that structure, like you can pretty much bloom wherever you're at. Midheaven
Hmm.
denotes the separation between the ninth and the 10th house. And the 10th house is where the career opposite or same parent might be. So you're striving to be innovative. You're striving to like be a pioneer in lots of different areas. Not necessarily like you're inventing stuff. It's just like whatever you do, it's original.
Yes, absolutely. That's the fun of everything.
And I like that you have between the midheaven point here and the ascendant point here, you've got Saturn like midway through, right between your
Right smack in
Aries.
the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, like so it's fire, fire, air. And so that complements it really well to whatever you're doing down here. Mars equals our physical body. So like down
Hmm.
here, you've got the Mars in Sagittarius, which really works well with the other fire signs. So it's like a nice little trine in here.
Hmm.
So you probably really take care of yourself.
Oh, I've got a
You
great body,
and
but I'm
you
really
just
into
want
my
to feel
nutrition.
good. Right, but
Yes,
you want to
absolutely.
feel good, right?
Oh yeah,
Your goal
absolutely.
is to always be moving.
I stayed
Sagittarius
on
is
top of this. No.
yeah, it's a fire sign, but it's a mutable fire sign.
Hmm.
So it's like you can be pulled in different directions, but with that, I think with that Leo rising, it's going to make you always want to do what's best for you. And not
Hmm.
in a selfish way. I wouldn't say it's more self-fulfilling.
Oh, that's an important distinction.
Yeah.
Yes,
So it's like
absolutely.
when and it's like the I say this to my clients all the time. When you put your mask over yourself first, like on the airplane, they tell you to
Hmm.
take care of yourself first. This is the same type of perspective.
Right.
All you're doing is keeping sure that you're regulated, that your basis is good, so you can therefore assist other people on a regular basis.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
like I said, it's sociological. This how like the three houses here. So you've got your
Yeah.
third, fourth, and your fifth are all. I mean, I would say you've got like the weight of everything is pretty much there, with a little bit over here in the I am stuff, which is here. Here's what I'm gonna say. So you've got Moon, the conjunct Pluto. I don't think it's conjunct. Moon is in Virgo. No, okay, so they're not. Well, they're within 10 degrees of each other, so it's technically conjunct. So
Hmm.
Pluto being like the most far outward planet within our charts, and it's being downgraded from a planet to an
I was going to say,
exoplanet or
how'd you
whatever
handle
they're
that when
gonna
they
do.
got? How'd you handle that when they got cut from the list?
I don't think it matters. I think that's just a bunch of the narrative and the mainstream trying to like
Right.
manipulate it. It does, I mean, it
I
doesn't
think
really
you're right.
matter
No, I think
because they
you're right.
don't, yeah, they don't talk about a lot of the other planets or little asteroids that go around. Like there's a Chiron, which is our wounded healer, which I don't
Hmm.
specifically see in your chart, but I could go through on the other one and check it out. We could look at that another time. But like Chiron is, it goes into like a elliptical orbit and
Hmm.
it has a different type of movement, but it most of the time spends its time in Aries and Pisces.
Okay.
So when it, I would gather to say because our birthdays are similar, there's most likely it's an Aries for you. So that would bring it up here towards your midheaven, which might make sense about having to restructure your career
Uh-huh.
during that time. Okay, because it's like almost like you saw like this. It's something you learn. You know, it's not like oh these are bad things. Pluto, like I said, might be like that underworld journey where you have different times of reflection, and it comes up for things to challenge you for change and purpose. It's ruled by Scorpio, so it's
Hmm.
about transformation, right? And but it's so closely conjunct to your moon in Virgo, which is I would say a moon in Virgo is a grounded moon for the most part, but you may have like moments of like flights of fancy about what you're feeling on the inside about your physical world.
Hmm.
It's an earth sign, so it's mutable earth. you do have a lot of mutable placements. You've got like your midheaven, the moon, Gemini, Saturn, and then we've got, oh, Aquarius is not mutable. You do have cardinal and Aquarius, and then also the cardinal is this Capricorn stuff over here. And the sun is your sun is in a fixed sign. So when your goals are for like you're delivering the gift in your sun sign. So your goals are going to be, you know, having to do with bringing help into humanity, the
Mm-hmm.
collective,
Mm-hmm.
making other people feel good, but also that helps you feel good. That does make
Absolutely.
sense about the hairstyling.
Oh, completely does. No, it's I'm always giving things away.
Well, that makes sense because like I said, you've got Mercury, sorry, Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, and Jupiter is conjunct Mercury. So your communication skills are probably super on point.
Yeah, it's really interesting. My communication skills are very, very insightful, or I'm a
Mhm.
little aloof sometimes.
That, well, I think it has a lot to do with like your sun in Aquarius. There's an aloofness to
Uh-huh.
that. Sometimes you feel like you want to do it, and sometimes you're like,
Yeah.
you know. And then you've got so much in Capricorn. So Mercury, Venus, I think it's Jupiter. Yep, Jupiter. That's generational. And also, what else? Is there one more? Oh, your North Node. Okay. And then the nodes of the moon. So the nodes of the moon. So your moon being over here,
Mm-hmm.
they're just points in the sky, but they're right here. One of them's in Capricorn, your North Node, which is what you're striving to do, which is Capricorn, ruler of the 10th house, career, purpose, striving for success. Capricorn is represented by a sea goat. And so they climb the mountains and then they like to jump off of them, like a sea goat does. So they're like into like the journey. And then they're like, let's try
Yeah,
something
yeah.
else, and start all over again and do something different and
Right.
new. And so having a lot of that stellium right there too, especially with your North Node, tells me that you're working at succeeding in this life with the help of your sun in the same house, but a different sign.
Interesting.
And Capricorn's cardinal, which means like you're going to some that also could tie into the aloofness because you have Venus here as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
your emotional being might be like some people might be too overly dependent. You're like, I'm not into that. Does that make sense?
It does. It does make sense.
And then we got Neptune over here. It was again generational because the outer planets go so slow that like
Right.
at certain ages, like you're gonna have Neptune in certain places. So we have similar placements because we were born within probably like a year of each other. And it being so tight with it looks like Mars and the Black Moon Lilith. Now I'm not very familiar with the Black Moon Lilith, but I know it's like the shadow side of a moon. It's not a real like it's a placement again in the sky, although astrologically speaking, other people might argue with me about that. And
Mm-hmm.
that's fine. I'm not an expert in that, but I do know that it has everything to do with what's hidden and what we're like maybe elusive about, and it being connected to Neptune, which is Neptune is think of like okay, so Neptune was discovered the same year film was created. So
Interesting.
I think of like the film, not the actual like I'm talking about the where it's different colors, the different chromes, like where it's the reverse image. I think of Neptune like that. Like it's kind of elusive, like it's foggy, it's murky water. Not bad, but
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of confusing and foggy. So you mix that with your that Black Moon Lilith, I think it has probably everything to do with you keep well, it's in your fifth house too. So like you probably have a dark sense of humor. Do you have a dark sense of humor?
Not as far as you know.
Like witty, but like like black comedies are fun. Like like where it's dark,
Oh
but you
yeah,
can
no,
laugh
yeah.
in the middle of it.
Fargo. Oh,
Yep.
absolutely.
Oh,
Fargo,
that's weird. You
Tarantino,
just said
things
that.
like that.
I've been watching the series Fargo.
I haven't gotten into it yet, but I'm going to get into it because I love that kind of stuff.
It's like a new season for like
I think
they
so.
don't. Yes, it's kind of weaves throughout, but it doesn't always. It's really good. But I loved Fargo
Mhm.
the movie. I love the
I
Coen
did too.
brothers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And physical body, so it like revs your engine to do that. It's fiery. So you get
Hmm.
excited about going to like when that stuff is like around. Whereas other people might be like that's morose or this is that. You're like whatever. You could give it.
No,
You could take it or leave it.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, and then Venus Capricorn about the Venus and the Capricorn. So Venus in Capricorn to me is like, so Capricorn is like, again, you can be sometimes like, you want to succeed, you want to be aloof. Um, Not you want to be aloof, sometimes you just are. Um,
Exactly.
but so it's more like I would say it's an earth sign, it's a cardinal earth sign. So you want to be seen, but you also, want to be in charge. It's a control type of situation. Not in a bad way, just you want to be in charge of yourself. You don't want other people telling you what to do or how to do it. Not that you'd
Oh
be in
no,
charge of
no,
other people.
no, yeah, and I don't tell other people what to do either. They don't tell me
Yeah.
what to do.
No, it's just you have an air of like, I know what I want, I do it, and other people kind of are
Yeah,
intimidated probably by it.
or mystified.
They don't know what to make of it because they don't understand. Like I mean, blueprints make sense. We have a blueprint.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
act a certain way. We could and that's
yeah.
why I like when there's a lot of mutable, so it's not always set in stone. I would say fix things sometimes when somebody gets stuck in a pattern, they set in stone when they have a lot of fixed sign placements. Now you have that
Uh-huh.
rising in a fixed sign, Leo, and your
Right.
sun is in Aquarius, fixed. Um, Fixed air would be that's Aquarius. Fixed water is Scorpio, which no specific placements in your Scorpio, but your Scorpio runs your fourth house. So your home, probably like you like your private time at home. You like to be
hmm
um alone sometimes at home. Don't want to be
I'm technically an
bothered.
introvert. Yeah,
There you go. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Well,
I'm an
that's the
outgoing
bottom.
introvert, but
It's the bottom of the chart. So it's like that's when you feel it when you're at home, you just kind of don't want to be bothered sometimes.
hmm yeah.
When you like hunker down, you want to like I would say like use the word nest, but that's only because it's the fourth house and there's a water sign there. And usually the fourth house is ruled by Cancer, another water sign, which the only thing you've got up here in Cancer is your south node, which means to me, I think it's a mastery, right? So you've mastered um the house of mother or that mothering feeling, not like or that nurturing, like understanding that. So putting the Scorpio in that house makes sense that you're just
hmm
like, yeah, now that I get it, I don't want to be bothered about it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's also your 12th house. So opposite ways that would say to me that, you're very nurturing, you're very like into cooking or stuff, but you want to do it like no, but not a lot of people know about it.
That's my old man hobby.
There you go.
Cooking,
It's like
cooking.
this is for you. It's like it's hidden. It's the hidden house. The 12th house is hidden, which is normally ruled by another water sign, Pisces.
hmm
Which you've got like that traditional. So Aries is generally the first house in because Aries, Taurus, Gemini that way. So Aries would rule that over here. But for you, it's still fire. Fire here, fire there, and then fire back up here. So it's just your wheel is turned just a bit to the traditional houses it goes because none of us are the same. We're meant to like
Oh,
be like different individual snowflakes, so to speak. I don't mean it like in any pejorative way. I mean literally like a physical snowflake has there's never right. There's not one that's
oh
the
no, they're
same.
completely
And
it's like fingerprint, like a fingerprint. They're completely different.
exactly, which tells us that we meant to come here to be different and an
Yeah.
individual, but we're always in different narratives meant to told this is how we conform and get along in society. And yes, but also let people be the individuals within the unified group of humanity. Don't define them all in different groups as like this is this and this is all the
Right.
stereotypes here and
Right.
here because that's what we're
Yeah.
going to live into, right? And I think
Sure.
you're probably about changing that just by being yourself in the sixth house and being having like so much connection and being able to talk to everybody every day while you're working, right? I
Yeah.
mean, like a bartender, a hairstylist, and therapists are all very similar,
I used to do that too.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes a lot
Absolutely.
of sense. Well, it's a helping field. The whole house is all about like helping others,
Yeah.
um, working for others, like, but also being a
hmm
very much of a connector. It's the Virgo house.
hmm
It's like, you know, what you would know a Virgo to be on a regular basis. Very detailed, very helpful, but also sometimes very shy, introverted, like you said, doesn't want to engage so much all the time. It
hmm
just depends. And having that Aquarius sun would tell me that you just like that's you pick and choose when you want to do it. Like you could do
Yep.
it if you want, but you're like,
Yeah.
I just don't feel like it today.
Right.
And that's perfectly okay.
It's very much an
Yeah.
impulse.
Oh yeah. Well, I would say that probably denotes over here to your physical body over here in Mars, which is a fire sign, and also having a midheaven in Aries. Aries is an impulsive sign.
hmm
They're new, they're young, they're the first. They want to go headstrong into the fire. If you think of Aries as the head and like
Right.
Pisces as the tail of the fish,
Okay.
So Pisces holds the whole of everything. Aries starts it
Mm-hmm.
by initiating fire type of thing. And you've got that in your career house in your top of your chart. So yeah, you're going to do everything with like this. I'm doing it.
Both feet in.
Yeah. When you decide to do something, you do it 100%.
Oh, there's no reason to do it any other way. For me, at
Well,
least.
right. Fire, fire. You've got that. Like
Mm-hmm.
I said, it's like fire, fire, fire is like the way your wheel turns.
Oh yeah.
And
Sometimes
then
to my own detriment.
mhm. Well, I think
Yeah,
if
but
again,
that doesn't bother me.
if you use that Mercury over here in a more
Mm-hmm.
earthy sign and ground yourself more frequently, you might
Mm-hmm.
find yourself pausing before doing that jumping off. Like especially as we get older, I think
Right.
maybe not. Sometimes we do crazy things still, but like for the most part, there's a pause. There's all like, wait a minute. And then you might still do it. You might still be impulsive, but you might go,
Mm-hmm.
let me think it through a little bit more
But it's there.
because of that
Right.
earth groundingness here. And again, your earth over here in where's the Virgo moon? That I think your Virgo moon gives you pause on a lot of times where you're like, you're going to talk about it, but you're also going to be, sensitive to other people too.
Yes.
Very much so, but very detailed in your responses, probably. Talk a lot, like, but good content,
Mm-hmm.
I would say. Hmm, well, good. And you've got a lot of 20. I think there's also, if we go down to the degrees here, 23 degrees. This one rounds up to 23. This one's technically 24 if it rounds up, but you've got randomness in your chart, which makes sense about, randomness in Uranus over here.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going with degrees and they correlate to another tool to use called the invisible garment, where you go by the degrees, but 23 degrees is randomness. And that often denotes like, you know, sometimes that impulsivity too. And since
Mm-hmm.
you've got it within the Uranus and Libra, sometimes you might feel imbalanced.
Yes, that is true.
And then I would say this is where you utilize more of this area of your chart to go outdoor. I mean, if you like outdoors, grounding, being in nature, when it's
Mm-hmm.
nice and warmer out, putting your bare feet in the grass to get grounded. And if not, like maybe getting a grounding mat,
Oh
keep in
yeah,
your house.
I've recently been paying attention to grounding. There's a guy that's kind of having a moment right now named Gary Brecka. He's kind of a biohacker, but he's a big believer in grounding,
Yes,
especially before the sun comes up.
absolutely. The infrared light we get when the sun goes over the
Exactly.
horizon is very key
Right.
to the mitochondria wake up in our brains.
Yes.
That's super like human, like over the generations, like for thousands of years that we aren't really taught or told much now. I mean, it's
No,
coming
we've
out.
gotten
It's like
away
a
from
thing.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. But this is the new age. This is the best part. You're an Aquarius coming into the age of Aquarius.
How about
So
that?
because Pluto just moved into Aquarius last month, it's going to stay in Aquarius until I think September or like later this year. And then it's going to dip out back to Capricorn for a little bit in retrograde. Then it's coming back to Pluto for the next 20 years plus.
Hmm.
So it's this is the time to make moves. It's like think of Aquarius, it's like this, it's the two little waves, right? Right here.
Right.
But I don't think of them as water, it's a water bearer. It's like electricity. It's a
Okay.
conduit. So it's the bringing of this new like evolution revolution into, you can kind of see it happening in the world. It's happening. Like it's where all the people stand up for the people. The individuals stand up for the collective in a
Mm-hmm.
general sense against I don't know what. Against whatever it is out there. Like anybody could call it any different thing, but there's many different
Right.
names for it. But I think it's just more like
Right.
the control mechanisms that have been around for
Mm-hmm.
currently the ones we have probably 1,000 years. Don't know for sure.
Yeah. It's been going on for a while.
It's time for change, and we're here
Oh,
for it. Like,
things are about to happen. I can feel it. I don't
oh
even
yeah,
know what it's
this
going
is
to be, but something's about to happen.
we are here for the pop off. Anybody here who's still Gen X and whatnot, who's hanging out, we came for this purpose to be adults during this time because we
Mm-hmm.
learned during before they had anything internet wise or social media
Right.
and whatnot.
Right.
Like I think I've seen the memes where they say our generation would be so screwed if they had that back then.
Yeah. We're the
Yeah.
we're the first generation to not be raised with
Yeah,
social media.
right. Like we could like you can see people still doing stupid stuff now, but I think if we had done it, it would
Yeah.
have been beyond. It would have been beyond.
I think
At
very
least
likely.
I think, yeah. So I that's why I think this generational transformation is super helpful. Not to give any shade to any of the younger generations because they've got
Of course
all of
not.
their own gifts, right?
They do.
And the older ones do as well. But this is what we're doing. We're here for the transformation. We're like becoming, what are we called? We're like the middle now.
We've been training
Like
for
we're,
this.
yeah, exactly. This is our Olympics.
Hmm.
So I think that's great. I mean, you've got like, and to just have that your sun place there, and it's in 2 degrees with 49 minutes, but it's that's purity. So you're here to purify the energy. You're part of the ones who purify the energy.
I'm feeling it.
Okay, that sound good?
Uh-huh. That sounds
That's
great.
I love that. It's like a basket chart too, because most of the stuff is over here. You can see all the different connections. It's you can
Hmm.
tell that a lot of things go from your viewpoint here in Saturn, which I also have a Saturn in Gemini. So that would be like Saturn in Gemini. You've got 14 degrees. That would be ecstasy. I don't have the book
Mm.
with. Oh, I do have the book. Oh, yay.
What do you got?
The book that I was talking about the degrees. I can give you a little
Oh.
blurb about your sun and purity. I'll give a shout out to the book in 1 second as soon as I figure out where purity is. And then here we go. Okay, so this is from Connie Kaplan's book. If anybody, The Invisible Garment. Great. Okay, so Mercury, sun and purity. Your sun and purity tells us that this lifetime is about correcting error. You have taken the responsibility to bring the gift of purity from the level of your soul into the level of human consciousness. You are here to perceive error, track it back to its origin, which is capitalized is divine, because all things come from divine blessing, and then correct the error. This is a contract of beingness, however. You are not required to run for Senate and rewrite the laws. You are simply to perceive the error and perceive its purification. This error may be on the densest levels and it may be on the most subtle levels of consciousness. Your communication with the divas, that's the earth, like angels, will be your
Got it.
primary guide in life. Like I think you're into being in nature. And then what was it we
Mm.
were saying? Randomness 23. What was I talking about? No, 14 degrees, sorry. What was 14? And you've got two of them. So you've got Venus, Saturn.
Doubling up.
Oh, Saturn. Yeah, it's good. You've got a few doubles. That means you're really here to deliver these gifts. Like I said, you can actually go online to the invisiblegarment.com and read all the breakdowns with all the
Okay.
degrees as well. But
Invisible
let's see.
garment. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Uranus and X. No, Saturn. With Saturn and ecstasy, we know that your experience of the realm of forms is like the mystics. A mystic sees the interconnectedness of all things. All his or her bodies are in alignment with the all nourishing abyss out of which everything erupts. As she said, those are Brian Swimmy's words. I don't know who that is. Therefore, all forms are interdependent on, interrelated to, and interconnected with all other forms. When you are in a forest, you are not just walking in a single forest, but in forestness. You may have trouble holding mental awareness of this expansive sense because it is a what did she say? Supramental experience. But when you do have these magical moments, you shift your attention to the divine and mystical aspect of form. You have an experience of ecstasy. So, like the way you see the world has
Okay.
like this excitement and this like burst of energy excitement to it.
Hmm.
Like I said, it's also probably the same way you love Venus is in the same degree, but in a different sign, Capricorn. But again, when you're in love. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
Yay.
I
Good.
never thought about it
I'm
like that, but
glad.
it does make sense.
I like it.
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, and your sun is trine your moon. Okay. Well, we can always do another, one of these if you really want to, if you have other things you want to talk about. But I think it's like just the basics of like your story mixed with what I can see in your chart.
Hmm.
That's amazing.
It's
Any other
fascinating.
questions
I
before our
don't think
time
so.
runs out?
You give me a lot to chew on.
Good. That's what I like. Excellent. Excellent. Well,
Yeah.
this has been so much fun. I appreciate you joining me for this
Nice
break
talking
time
to
on
you.
a Sunday. You too, as
Yeah.
well.
Thanks for the
Take good
breakdown.
care of yourself. Absolutely. If you have any questions, you can email me back and we'll figure it
Okay.
out. All
You
right.
got it. Take care.
Thanks, Jamie. Take care.
Hmm. You too.
Bye,
Bye
y'all.
bye.